Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, very, very good question.
Yeah, this is a very good question.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
Oh, that's a great question.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Zanger.
It's a great question. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Really good question.
Gosh, this question to me, I hate this question.
That's a loaded question. but okay.
All right, everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm Doug Zanger, editor-in-chief, Indie Agency News. I'm going to make this one fairly brief because we got to get to business. I'm going to do this first, though. I ate popcorn before I went to bed last night. I'm just going to tell you, pro tip, don't do that. All right, Indie Agency News, top 40. Our next deadline is the 31st. So the final deadline is September 16th. This is the only global competition that I know of for indies by indies, or by indies for indies. Whatever. I've also been told this is the easiest entry form ever. 3 mandatory fields, 6 if you want to do it. You can use stuff you did before for Can, D&AD, One Show. Use it, copy, paste. You can get the entry kit here, enter here. We'll count them down starting the week of October 14th, and then the week of the 21st, I will go into the markets of the winners. Why are we doing this? Because we want to create more visibility for our members and for indie agencies so that marketers have more choice. They want to see this good work. And we want to share it. Go to indieagency.news. If you'd like to learn about membership, you click this little red button on the homepage. Thursdays are always about work. And we have a little post up on that. We're starting an Indie Work Weekly. So this is our second one. Some fun stuff. We also have another newsletter on Wednesdays that we're starting to really get rolling. It's the Indie Spin. Again, members always get priority here on Indie Agency News, including one thing that I really, really want our members to know is that we would love for you to host these shows. We do a show every day. Most weeks we do. Labor Day, we're taking a few days off. But most of the time we run a show every day. And we would love our members to host. And we have one of our great friends of the family, Jess Zafaris, our senior contributor. Fancy title.
Fastest promotion I've ever gotten.
Well, and you're an amazing writer, an amazing entomologist. You're also the judge and the co-host of Pun Fight, one of our game shows.
Tune in.
Which tens of people watch. No, hundreds of people have been watching it. So I don't know. I got to go back and look at some. Everybody likes data. But I asked Jess specifically to moderate this session. And this is about FemHealth. This is about there's so many issues around marketing for women and women's hygiene products. And I just really wanted Jess to moderate this because we have a couple of our wonderful members, Curiosity and Quirk Creative, and we're very fortunate to be bringing on a client as well. So, Jess, I'm going to let you take it away, and I'm going to bring everybody on in. Look at this party. I'm going to go away. I'm going to go be the producer. Have fun.
Hey, everybody. How you doing today? Doing good?
Hello.
Excellent. I am so excited to talk to you all today. Personally, I have a great connection to this, not just because I am a woman with woman parts, but also because in my work around word origins, I advocate for using straightforward language and defanging terms that have been either weaponized or treated as shameful when describing gender and identity. And of course, we have some brilliant people here to talk to us about this. So first of all, let's just go around. Would you mind please introducing yourselves and talking a little bit about your work in the FemHealth space? Could we start with Meryl, please?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me. Nice to see everybody. So my name is Meryl Draper. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Quirk Creative, and we focus on video advertising. And we work with a lot of FemHealth brands. It's a growing market, doing a lot of TV commercials, CTV commercials and campaigns and beyond. So yeah, excited to be here and talk about this topic.
Thank you so much, Meryl. How about Angela?
Hi, so excited to be part of the conversation today. I'm Angela, I am a commercial director at Quirk Creative and also a creative lead. So I can definitely speak to what are the trends happening in terms of casting and tone and other elements in terms of marketing femtech.
Fantastic. All right. Deanna, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Jess. Thank you so much for having me. I am Deanna Seymour, the CEO and co-founder of PhD Feminine Health, and we make holistic products for feminine care that are at retailers nationwide and also in Canada.
Excellent. And Katie?
Hey there, I'm Katie Gertis, Group Creative Director at Curiosity, and just worked very closely with Dee on making a brand campaign spot that talked all about feminine health. So excited to chat with you all and her about it.
So excited to dig into your work. But before we dig in with that, I would love to tap into what Angela said just a moment ago and talk a little bit about some of the trends in the fem health space at large. Angela, would you mind getting us started with some of what you're seeing and what excites you and some of the friction that you've encountered there too?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of what we're seeing, there is a big sway towards language and tone that is much more authentic. So we're no longer sort of trying to make things pretty or soften the blow, so to speak. It is much more direct. In terms of casting, moving away from this perfect ideal woman in terms of physicality, it's more about representing a true spectrum of the women who will be using these products. And finally, leaning more so into those insights. So what are women actually thinking? How do they feel about their bodies? And how do they function in the world? And actually, I have one more thing for you, which is related to sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there. Moving past those cliches. And that is one point of friction. Sometimes a client will come in and they're down for moving past cliches, but in reality, what they want to do is replicate. So our aim at Quirk is to help guide them past that. But overall, no more women sipping coffee, sitting around lounging. Women are multifaceted. You know, they're massive contributors.
I love this commitment to authenticity and like almost grittiness because like the blood, the pain, the contractions, the everything that is metal as hell, which is fantastic to see getting into advertising that accurately reflects that experience. Now, Meryl, I think you also have some thoughts on trends and what's going on in the space too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was really struck, Jess, in your intro to this topic on you use this word shame. And I think what's really excited about this year and beyond is that we have realized that the spaces that have historically held a lot of shame around women's health are actually really profitable business sectors. And so what we're seeing is this influx of innovative, forward-thinking fem health brands emerging that naturally are taking a piece of that pie, are running successful businesses, and are realizing we can make a lot of money and be really successful if we start thinking about what women want, what they want to purchase, and how we can talk to them in a way that feels authentic and real.
That's excellent. That truth cultivates so much respect, isn't that right?
Totally.
Excellent. Well, okay, since we're short on time, I think we can get back into trends in a little bit, but I want to dig into the work. Doug, would you mind playing the video that we're going to talk about in just a few?
There are a lot of interesting names we give our lady parts, from the beaver to the taco to the delicate flower to the cootie cat, meow, to the hoo-ha and the tutu. At PhD, we don't give a blueberry muffin what you call your lady parts, as long as you take serious care of them. For whole life vaginal health of your papaya, punani, or concha, use the #1 doctor recommended PhD Feminine Health. PhD Love and Hearts for your lady parts.
All right, that was awesome. Very cute. Love the humor, love the tone, love the realism. So I think we'll start with Katie. Also would love to hear from Deanna. I'd love to hear about how this started, how the brief was approached, and how it changed over time.
Yeah, good question. So we started working with PhD and Dee and her team not too long ago, and just they came to us wanting to do something very bold and provocative, and kind of make us have a little bit of a stance and put a stake in the ground. So obviously, culturally, this is a taboo talk about. Like, no one wants to talk about vaginal odor. No one wants to talk about menopause, but it shouldn't be that way. So our goal was to really put something out in the world that showed PhD is revolutionizing, women's vaginal healthcare. So our brief really wanted to go all in that women should own their feminine energy at any stage of their life. So anyone from women entering college to women who are entering menopause, how do we speak to them in a way that makes them feel comfortable with where they're at, whether that's them owning and calling their vagina, or being a little bit shy and how they feel and talk about, their vaginal health. So that was our brief. We stayed really tight and close in on strategy that was very well received by Dee and her team from the get-go, and set out to make something really bold. So that's how we came to everything. Dee, I don't know, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, that was perfectly stated. We really wanted to say the word vagina, though.
Yeah.
But we found that we were handcuffed at every single level. And we even were taking the scripts to the networks because we wanted this to air nationwide on mainstream television and connected TV. And we had a lot of pushback. So we had to regroup along the way with Katie and her team, say, okay, how can we tweak this and say it without saying it, essentially, which is such a shame because there's really just systemic biased rejections of talking about feminine health. And I could get into Meta too, and the issues that exist there, as well as TikTok. But the censorship has just been something we fought, from day one, when we created the category of boric acid suppositories addressing vaginal odor. And we kept hearing over and over again, you can't say the word vaginal odor. Well, we have to, as we were talking about, destigmatize this and create a safe space and a conversation surrounding these real issues that women face. And so that's something, we recently faced. We were spotlighted on a women-owned brands in KCAL TV, and they were highlighting our vaginal moisturizing gel. But they couldn't say, we were right next to Kate Somerville and some other amazing women-owned brands. They couldn't say vaginal moisturizing gel when that's the name of the product. So they skirted around the issue to the point where it was really comical and also sad that that's where we are today.
That is unbelievable. And one of my, not to make this about like etymology too much, but one of my favorite facts about the word vagina is that it's also a euphemism that was borrowed from Latin. In Latin, it means sheath or pod or covering, and it was used euphemistically too. Meanwhile, words for male genitalia were simply the word for that, borrowed from Latin into medical science. So that's so interesting. And I love the way that you all have reclaimed the euphemisms. How did the humor on this project come together? Like, how'd you land on the tone while, using these like entertaining terms for clinical parts of our body?
Yeah, we did a lot of just like consumer research, social listening of what people or women, what they call their vagina, and wanted to play into that. I know my mom personally doesn't, she might call it, I don't know, her little Nancy. I don't know. Oh my God, she would be mortified if I said that. But it was really like digging into, like I said, social listening, going on Reddit, just like finding hundreds and hundreds of names, and then just narrowing down on kind of what rose to the top, what people use the most, which is how we resonate with everything. And then just lady parts, just felt lighthearted. And when you compare it and juxtapose it to, we don't care what you call it, just as long as you take serious care of it. So.
And it's interesting, the version that you aired or showed is one we can't use on networks because of Punani.
What?
Yeah. Yes, ridiculous. But
right.
So we have an alternate version that we had to create that's safer.
Wow, no kidding. It's so I find it really refreshing because you managed to land on the euphemisms that were respectful and friendly and used by the people who have them, rather than ones like it could have been very easy to stumble into one that could be troublesome for someone too. So excellent work there. So now we're not going to dig too much into numbers, especially for new work. We're looking for like creative, strategic leadership lessons. Was the creative output what you expected? Was it better than you expected? What would you have done differently? Maybe Deanna on this one.
Yeah, I was going to ask to take this, Katie. It actually exceeded our expectations, and I was fortunate enough to be on set during the filming, and I could see it all coming together, and I just was blown away. The level of intentionality and creativity that Curiosity displays is just amazing, and a fantastic team to work with. And we had so much fun too during the process.
Excellent. Katie, what did you learn from this process?
A lot. There was no playbook for this. I think when you specifically think about the media, the process was very confusing, as Dee was saying, just about, fighting for what we wanted to get aired. I felt like 1 minute we'd get a green light on scripts as they were just written in a Word doc from networks of like, okay, these are fine. And then the next minute we're being told that like 99% of the copy written in this script can't be aired, like when we would send back an animatic. So we kept checking in with the networks, and everything that we got back would change. And it felt so confusing. And we were like, who do we talk to about this? Like, do we have to go to the FCC? Like, who can give us answers, on why these words can't be used? It was frustrating. Like, we just wanted to show up when and where our target consumers were watching TV, but it was clear we weren't allowed to do it because it was like, literally, I quote, it was too explicit of a thought, too inappropriate. So just huge learning experience about like working with networks and media buying and just all of the, the big dogs and the control that they have. And it's frustrating, but I think just from like an agency standpoint, I think we just want to continue to push for work that we're super passionate about and getting it in front of our target consumers as much as possible, constantly learning and pivoting. But I most importantly, just working on brands we feel and agree with and love what they do, which is what we did with BHD. So
excellent. So I want to zoom out and open up the floor a little bit here because I'd love to hear more from Meryl and Angela too. What are some opportunities in the FemHealth space that aren't currently being tapped into? Like I'm thinking real talk about things like endometriosis, UTI prevention, and education, IUDs, that kind of thing. Meryl?
Just a sampling of some of the brands that we're working with and the issues that they touch: menopause, incontinence, the OBGYN pelvic exam trip, periods, fertility. I mean, there is almost a never-ending list of not issues, but realities that women face being women. And every single one of those conversations is an opportunity for a brand to show up and say, I'm going to be the one to solve this. I want to be the one to tackle this. So it really is a huge, huge wide spectrum. But I think one of the most obvious opportunities is for women to be in charge of marketing the products that are being purchased and used by women. And so seeing all the women on today's panel, I think is so awesome. Having women-led creative teams, Angela Campos, one of our key commercial directors for our FemHealth brands, women-owned agencies, women-led agencies. We really need to be pushing for women to be a part of that creation. And honestly, writing the guidelines for the, what can air. Like we need women writing those guidelines so we can show the original PhD spot. That should be shown to everyone.
Absolutely. Angela, any follow-up thoughts on that or any thoughts about other opportunities in this space?
Definitely would like to echo that. And just by stating a few elements here, one is that over 70% of founders of femtech are female. So carrying that over into the marketing aspect is also a nice touch. I'll also add endometriosis, would love for that to be hit as a topic, especially since women are taking 10 plus years to be diagnosed. And that is definitely unacceptable. So hopefully there's an app out there, a methodology to get that sorted, and whoever's out there working on it, Quirk is open. Come see us for marketing. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Not to take this off topic, but I will add one thing. I know you guys were talking about the words that weren't allowed in terms of the FCC and also the networks. And that also extends not only to language, but also to visual. So as an example, the Jeremy Allen White Calvin Klein ads, super well received. And then the breast milk cookie ads in Times Square had to be taken down. So it goes beyond language in terms of controlling how we talk about and see women's bodies.
And like famously blue period blood, things like that. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I'd love to get this answer from everybody, maybe starting with Deanna. What advice would you give for people looking to market products and bring products to the market in this space?
I think we need a bigger voice because we keep butting our heads up against this brick wall without a whole lot of progress. I mean, a little progress has been made over the years, but I know there is an organization called the Center for Intimacy Justice that is working on a lot of this, lobbying members of Congress, particularly with Meta, to allow language like to say the word vagina, to say the word sex, to really talk about sexual reproductive health using real words that we use every day. And so I think that, in order to really make change, we're going to have to go and to the lawmakers and the people that can effectuate this.
Absolutely. That seems very far behind, historically speaking. Katie, what about you? What advice would you give people who want to work in this space?
I mean, I just think it's super important that you know your target and you know your consumer and speak to them how, they talk and what they, how they're thinking, just really dig into them. I think that's the biggest set of advice, like get close on strategy and know who you're talking to so that you don't miss the mark there.
Where do you find that information? What kind of research have you done?
Oh my gosh, everywhere. I mean, tag team.
You mentioned Reddit too.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere in it. Right. Tons of just focus groups or just putting quick, things out in the world and getting gut checks, reactions. But yeah, we do just a ton of, research on our end with our strategy team and just, listening, digging into articles and articles and articles. So.
Excellent. Meryl, what's your best advice for this space?
My advice is advice I'm trying to implement right now. I just had a daughter last year, and I'm really starting to realize how much the language we use at home and the topics we talk around our family, our close friends is actually some of the biggest impact you can have to taking the shame away from these issues. And that to me feels like the first starting point to marketing in this space is actually getting really comfortable talking about our bodies and the issues we face and the phases we go through. So that's my advice, is start at home and be cognizant of the language you're using every day.
Absolutely. And Angela, what advice can we learn from you?
Oof. I feel like we've run the gamut on advice here. Wow, I would say don't be afraid to go beyond the boundary. The audience is ready for something new. They're ready to accept something that feels exciting and that really adds a bit of life to everyday marketing.
Absolutely. On that note, I'm reminded by some striking marketing that I've seen in the creator space. A lot of times TikTok and Instagram creators are able to be a little more blunt with the way that they're talking about feminine health products. What can we learn from these folks, and what are some of the things that we're seeing in the next generation of women who are interested in learning more about the options that they have out there? Meryl, Deanna, it looks like you have a good answer for this.
Well, yeah, it's been so amazing to see how this next generation is really the stigmas are being removed, and they feel so much more comfortable talking about their bodies. But the one thing that we're finding time and time again through surveys and also feedback from consumers is they still lack a knowledge of feminine health and even anatomy. So we're finding there's a lot of education that is happening, and they're so open to it and receptive, which is great. They want to learn more about their bodies. I feel like more than any other generation that we're marketing to. It's exciting.
That's great to see. I've seen so many creators talking more about like the experience and variation and like pregnancy health too. That's been so neat. Meryl, what kinds of things are you noticing among like creator communities?
Well, I think the creator community and what they're talking about and focusing on in their content is a great litmus test for what society is hungry to hear, right? And so when we're seeing more creators being honest about women's health issues, it's an indication that we need to start talking about those topics on a broader scale. And again, back to kind of what I was saying about the business opportunity, it's a signal to brands and companies to follow those indications and start creating companies that are going to deal with those topics and issues that are now being requested and talked about online.
Isn't it odd that we can, open up an app and see someone very explicitly explaining what they're experiencing, but then in an advertisement, we can't say half of the words that they're using?
What I'm saying, we got to change it. We got to change those guidelines. Who's in charge of the guidelines? We need to find out.
That's what I'm saying. Let's get to the bottom of it.
Excellent. Angela, I would love to hear if you have any predictions for where we might go in the next few years on this space. Do you think we'll see a relaxing of regulations? Do you think we'll see more open-mindedness around this?
Definitely. I mean, this is just the beginning. It is the dawn of femtech and female health. So especially I think as companies start to see how much money is coming in, how much interest there is. There's already been a couple of femtech brands who have gotten their IPO. So all of this should help drive people in the right direction. So if you didn't think of this from an ethical standpoint, that is where we should be going, hopefully the finance will help push it in that direction.
Excellent. Katie, what are your predictions and hopes for the future of this sector?
I just hope we can be super honest and authentic and not have to tiptoe around anything, and just that we can have the freedom to speak about our bodies however we want.
Agreed. Deanna, any from you? Hopes, predictions?
Yeah, I really hope that there continues to be more disruptors in this space. We didn't realize how disruptive our brand would be when I had this idea, but man, it's been so cool. And we're really shaking things up in the industry. And I want to see other, women-owned brands that come to the market and do the same. And the crazy thing is, you all, is that there's only 2 certified woman-owned brands in the whole feminine care section at Food Drug Mass, and we happen to be one of them. There needs to be more.
No way. I had no idea. That's incredible. Meryl, what are your hopes, predictions? Look into your crystal ball. What do you think is next for this space?
I have one hope, and it's that we can say vaginal odor on TV, and it's not a huge deal. Like, let's make that happen. That's my hope.
It's a simple ask. You think it wouldn't be too hard? Can we just spell it? Like, what's the barrier there? How can we hide it?
Like, it's a real thing. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean?
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much. Is there anything else? Any other thoughts before we close out this session?
Thank you for elevating this topic.
Yes,
I'm so glad. I am so glad we got to do this. All right. Thank you so much, Meryl. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Katie. And thank you, Deanna. And thank you, Doug, for enabling us to have this conversation and handing it over to this fantastic group of experts. Everybody tune into all our shows on Indie Agency News and enter the Indie Agency News Top 40. The final deadline is September 16th. We hope to see you all soon and have a great day.
Bye.